folks, Toad here with Visordown.com, and today we are talking about Kawasaki's Ninja 650, which is not to be confused with the ZX6R Ninja, as a couple of people I know have already done with this bike. They said to me, did you have one of these last year? And I did. I had a ZX6R Ninja last year, at the tail end of last year, but that's not this bike whatsoever. The main difference is that the ZX6R Ninja is an out-and-out super sports bike. It's got high-performance track-focused suspension, it's got a race-bred and developed chassis, and it's got a screaming 636 4-pot engine that develops well over 100 horsepower. This is not that bike. This is more of a sort of an everyday Ninja 650 sports bike. So it's got the ER6 engine, basically. It's been around since about 2006, so it's quite a well-known unit. It's also in the Z650, so the naked midweight from Kawasaki. It's also in the Vulcan S and the Versys 650 as well. So it's a really, really versatile little unit. I'll come back onto the engine in a minute. We've got a similar frame, but it's slightly tweaked over the Z650. And we've also got the fully faired bodywork, which has been sharpened and changed and sort of made it look a little bit cleaner for this year. So this bike that you can see here comes in at £7,049, and that's completely as tested. It starts at £6,899, which is for a slightly different colour scheme. If you want the KRT replica with the Kawasaki Racing Team decals, costs a little bit more money. But they do also do two other versions of this. So they do the Performance Edition, which is pretty standard, but they also do a Tour Edition as well, which is, and again, I'll come on to that in a minute. It sounds a little bit weird to have a Tour version of what is effectively a middleweight sort of semi-sports bike, but it is quite comfy. I'll come on to that in a moment. So what's new on this bike for this year? If you rode the old one, you'll already know a lot about this bike. It's not changed massively. What Kawasaki have tried to do is just evolve it slightly. They've taken all the bits that people liked and just made them better. And if anybody didn't like anything, then they've just taken it away. So it's got the same TFT as the Z900, the Z650 and the Kawasaki ZH2, which is the best TFT dash on wheels, bar none. It's so easy to read, it's so clearly laid out, and it's got everything you need in just the right place. It's pucker. It has got, like I said, it's got new, sharper styling. They've increased rider and passenger comfort for this year. It's got the Rideology app connectivity, so you can hook it up to your phone and review your route of where you've been and so on and so forth. And it's also got for this year Dunlop Sportmax 2 sort of sporty touring sort of tyres, which I did just do a burnout on and they didn't really like it. Sorry about that, Kawasaki. Just going to go through the engine really quickly. This is a first impressions video, so I'm just going to get a high level overview of what I think of the bike after about 220 miles or so. I only picked it up the other day. So it's got 67 bhp. It is available as an A2 licensed machine, so you can restrict it down to 47.5 brake horsepower or whatever it is, and then unrestrict it once you pass your test and you get yourself properly on two wheels. It's a really torquey unit actually, and that's one of the things that makes you not really miss having loads more power, is the fact that it's got quite a lot of torque. It's 47 foot-pound of torque, which it doesn't come in very early. It kind of comes in further up the rev range, but it does make it really, really usable, and it's quite a chunky motor. But it's not lazy or laborious. It's still quite fizzy and quite peppy, the same as it is in the Z650 Naked. I think the state of tune that it's got is pretty much exactly the same. But it still feels up for a laugh. It's done a really cool thing. Well, Kawasaki have done a really cool thing with this engine, is they've taken what is fairly boring sort of engine configuration in a parallel to twin with a conventional crankshaft, and they've made it really peppy and they've made it really fizzy. And that's good, because parallel twins aren't really known for being the exciting engines on the market unless you start dropping funny cranks in them and cross planes and 270-degree cranks and stuff like that. So, but it is a very peppy little unit, and it's also very frugal. You'll get about 145 miles to a tank, which is 15 litres, which again is bloody good. I just want to talk quickly about the handling of the bike. So I picked it up from Kawasaki's headquarters yesterday, which is just outside of High Wycombe, and I was going to ride back the M40 back to Coventry, but I thought, no, sod it. So I came off at Bicester and went the back way back to Coventry, and I didn't really notice anything about the handling until we got off the motorway and until we got onto the B roads and we started to push on. It's really, really fast steering. It's got the handling and the turning dynamics of a super sport bike in that it drops into corners with eye-opening sort of speed. It's very, very quick to turn. It's exceptionally light as well, which is all excellent. The only thing that I have noticed, and I can kind of see why Kawasaki have done it, but for me, when I started to really push on, it was sort of holding me back a little bit, and that is that the non-adjustable telescopic front forks, they are very softly sprung. There is a lot of dive on the brakes, and there's no kind of progression in the spring, so it's not like the first part of the spring is quite soft and then it firms up at the further on you go. It just all feels really quite soft. It is, though, the underpinnings of this bike, like I said, it is the Z650. It is designed to be a bike that somebody can walk out of the motorcycle testing centre once they've passed their full motorcycle licence and jump straight on, and not just ride it, but ride it and enjoy riding it and get the maximum out of it, and sticking firmer suspension on it and stiffening it up. A, it would put people off, and B, if that's what you really want, then you probably should be looking at the ZX6R Ninja. Another point that I mentioned earlier on, and that was that Kawasaki do a tour edition of this bike, and you might think, well, why do they do a tour edition of a sports bike? And it's because it's bloody comfy. They've updated the seats for this year, so they're different shape and they've got thicker padding on them, and they are exceptionally comfy. I was coming back from Kawasaki's HQ on it the other day, which is only 100 miles, and in the end I spent all day on the bike and I clocked up about 220 miles and went through 2 tanks of fuel, and I was absolutely fine. And that was A, because it's so comfy that you just want to ride it all day, and B, because actually it is a lot of fun just to get on a bike that's got under 70 horsepower that you can really wring its neck all the time. I've ridden things like the ZH2 and the Street Fighter V4 this year, and the Rocket 3. And then when you get something like this, which has got quite a small amount of horsepower by comparison, it's just so nice to be able to jump on it and just go a little bit nuts and not be scared for your life, basically. It's quite cool. Just going back to the comfort on this, the upper body, if you can see the top yoke, which I'll get a video of in a moment, but the handlebars aren't classic sort of clip-ons that clip onto the top of the yoke or just above the top of the yoke. They kind of sweep up to meet you, and it does put you in a really, really comfortable upper body position. The lower body ergonomics is pure sports bike. The seat to peg distance is very small, and that's partly because Kawasaki have tried to make the seat height as low and as slim as possible to make it as accessible as possible. So it's a 790 millimeter seat height. But what that does mean is that taller riders, you will feel a little bit cramped. I don't know if there's a taller seat option that Kawasaki might do. I know they do for some of their other bikes, like the Z650, you can get a slightly taller seat. But yeah, the lower body ergos of this thing are pure sports bike. And because it's so thin and it's got such a low seat on it, you just feel like you're totally in control of the thing when you're riding it. It's very comforting, but it is a lot of fun to ride. I've really enjoyed it this past couple of days. And like I said, I've done 200 miles on the thing, and they have all been brain out B-road blasts, and I've quietly impressed with it so far. So just want to talk about the brakes very quickly. It's the same braking system, exactly the same braking system as we have on the Z650. So we've got twin pot Nissin calipers at the front with 300mm pedal discs, and we've got a single Nissin caliper at the rear. I've got no complaints with the braking system whatsoever. It is budget stuff because this is it's a first bike for people effectively, or maybe even for somebody who's returning to riding after spending 20 years on, brain out sports bikes. They want to get something that's a little bit more comfortable. So to keep the cost down, they've gone with the Nissin stuff. It's a known quantity to Kawasaki, and it works absolutely fine. There was a little bit of fade yesterday. There was one particular road that I go down where you've got about 4 or 5 miles of quite fast short straights into quite heavy braking zones, and there was a little bit of fade at the lever, but it kind of came back to you after about 5 or 10 minutes. Just let the brakes cool off a little bit. It wasn't too much of a problem, to be honest with you. So that is the first impressions video of the Kawasaki. Quietly impressed. If you are looking for a bike that can deliver, the back road sort of thrills and the fun that you get from a full-on super sports bike like the ZX6R Ninja, but you don't want to have to go and see your chiropractor every weekend to get your spine reset, this is actually a pretty good option. It's also going to be cheaper to insure. It's going to be cheaper to run because servicing that engine is cheap as chips because it's as old as the hills. And it's also going to be very cheap to put fuel in because, like I said, it's only got a 15-litre tank and I'm getting around about 130, 140 miles to a tank, which is pretty damn good. So, all in all, impressed. I'm going to do some more with it. We've got it for a week. So I don't know, I would really like to take it on track, but it looks like the Rona has put pay to track days for a little bit longer. Either that or everybody's got on them really quickly and all the ones that I've tried are already booked up. So looks like it's just going to be a few more B-road blasts. We'll get a full review out to you on YouTube, and there'll also be a full written review on Visordown.com. If you've liked this video, please don't forget to let us know in the comments below, and please click like, subscribe and hit the notification bell so you can stay up to date with all of Visordown's latest videos on YouTube. For all the latest news, reviews and motorcycle features, please head over to Visordown.com. Thank you for watching.